Today's guest is Jamey Schreier, who is a physical therapist by trade and passionate business person by design, I think. So welcome, Jamey Schreier of Practice Freedom U. So physical therapist, what's it like being the first physical therapist on the SLP's podcast?
Well, I am so honored, Maddie, to be here. And I don't know, it's exciting. You know, I love sharing this message and just can't wait to dive in and help some of your listeners.
We were chatting before the podcast, before I hit the record button. And I'm like, Jamey, I just need to hit record because you are saying so many things that I want to capture in this podcast. So we are going to start capturing some of those now with our conversation. Tell me who you are and why you're on this podcast.
Well, I'm a physical therapist by trade. And like most business owners, practice owners, I had that bug to want to do it on my own, to not have to listen to my boss, to treat the way I want. So I started my practice in the early 2000s. And the practice started to grow. You know, you work hard, you grow, you do what you have to do. And then you start hiring people. So I started hiring people. Well, you start hiring people to kind of help you with a lot of the stuff that you're doing on your own. But instead of my hours going down, I actually worked even more hours because I was doing my job and some of their job. And I was really struggling, and it took a toll on me, an emotional toll. And although a lot of people in our businesses in the private practice world, you know, smile and say everything is good, which of course I did, inside it wasn't so good. So I started to learn and take it upon myself of how do I build a business? Because I don't know. I wasn't taught in school how to do this. And nobody really talks about it. So fast forward, put a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of money, and a heck of a lot of mistakes. But I learned a few things along the way of actually how to build a business and become a real owner versus just a clinician. So ended up, growing my practices. And then I started sharing my story, and that led me into coaching and helping other business owners create the business that they love. And so I guess that's why I'm here, to share some of that.
So our audience is largely students and brand new clinical fellow SLPs. And when you and I were talking beforehand, I originally thought, what message is he going to share with us that's going to be appropriate for this listening audience? But the more I talk to you, the more I realize that your passion, your company, what you do as coaching really is setting an important mindset from the very, very, very beginning. So the conversation that we're going to have moving forward with what you do and where you really shine is having that business mindset, and having that from the very beginning of our careers is very important.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell me where you shine with your business.
Well, I think the important thing for people that either want to go into private practice, or maybe you're partnering up with somebody, or you're currently in your business, I think it always comes down to this one thing that we teach at Practice Freedom U is you always want to begin with the end in mind. 𝐕𝐝 Covey said that in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. And I think everything we do, if we start with the end, it kind of creates where we're trying to head. So we all did this in school. We had a vision, we had a goal. I want to be a speech language pathologist. So you had that vision, and then you do the steps to get there. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times in our businesses, or sometimes just in our lives, it's kind of the Home Depot model. It's do it yourself. Busy is better, right? A mentor of mine a long time ago, Maddie, said something really cool. He goes, busy, so too are the ants. The question is, what are you busy about?
Oh.
And I think it's important for us to always look at, what are we trying to accomplish? What is our goal? What is our vision? And in business, it's no different. Instead of just going in there and just putting your head down and start working, get clear on what you want. And it's not that easy sometimes, to be clear on, well, what do I want? Because a lot of times we get caught up with the whole thinking of, well, can I do it? Can I achieve it? And we start hyper-analyzing everything. So that's kind of a first step to really think about what you want. And even if it's not business related, some of the students, being clear on what you want as a professional, where do you want to go? It's okay if you don't necessarily achieve it exactly when you want, but I think it's really important to always start with that perspective first.
So you start with the end and work backwards.
You start with the end and then you reverse engineer it, fancy word that basically says you kind of move backwards from that. Mm-hmm. So if we're clear in what we want, so let's say you're just starting your business and you have a vision, the type of people you want to help, that you want the business to create this type of lifestyle, whether it's revenue or flexibility. Let's say you want to have 3 offices one day versus someone that wants to have just a solo practice, maybe work 3 days a week with a few clients and doing cash base. Those are all very different visions. And what you have to do today to start moving your business towards that is going to be different. Mm-hmm. So yes, you reverse engineer that and you start to break it in chunks. This is how I learned this in my years and years and years of going through this myself, is from a time management thing. If you look so far out in the future and try to just say, okay, in 3 years, I want to have 3 locations, and you just start working now to get there, mm-hmm. it's going to be very difficult because there's no plan and organization. Mm-hmm. But if you break it into, let's say, 3-month chunks, quarterly chunks, kind of like the stock market, right? It's all done in quarters. Then in that 90-day period, we call it doing a 90-day sprint, you can start writing down, okay, in the next 90 days, what do I want to achieve? What's my goal? What's the milestone I want to achieve? So you take this big 1 year, 2 year, 3 year goal, and you start breaking it down in 90-day chunks. Then you can break that down even further to 30-day chunks. So by chunking your time, you start to get more clear on what has to be done, all the way up to what do I want to do and accomplish this week? And that helps you become much more efficient than just doing, and feeling busy, but you're not really productive.